Welcome to Culture Talk. I'm joined here today with Mark Perez. He is a retired deputy chief for the Los Angeles Police Department. And Mark, you are also a local visiting scholar.
Yes.
So thank you for joining us today. We're going to talk about kind of a somber topic. We have a lot of tragedies happening across the nation and across the world. And a very common response is, "You're in my thoughts and prayers." And unfortunately, that's such a common response that it has kind of become a trope that non-believers especially take issue and offense with. So how would you respond to the issue or the question of, are thoughts and prayers really a trope?
Well, in some respects it is. It has become a trope. I remember standing on the dais with politicians and elected officials of other types too, and hearing them say that and cringing and thinking, I know these people aren't being genuine. I think there's something more to this than just they really believe what they're saying. I don't think any of them prayed. And so when you look at that, you have to ask yourself as a Christian, how ought we to be behaving? So when we look at the politicians, it's pretty easy to see that there's some self-aggrandizement there. They're just reflecting on their own virtue and calling attention to themselves rather than really showing sympathy to the victims. But as Christians, we have a completely different viewpoint. But at the same time, we as Christians can accidentally be trivializing. And so how would this look? So for example, let's look at Facebook or Twitter or something like this, where these social media are immediately effective. They can be immediately effective in making something very deep and concerning, or they can trivialize the sacred. And that's the fear that I have with this, is that if we as Christians aren't careful in our use of the language and we trivialize the sacred, we're going to miss the point of the opportunity that God gives us even among tragedies. So let's say, for example, something happened far away and we want to reach out to these people who are the victims. Sometimes we can do it with social media. Other times we have to ask ourselves, are we just joining in a party?
Right. And being that trending, like responding to something that's trending, so then you find yourself in the Twitter moment.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And is that the right way? Would Jesus do that?
Right.
Probably not. Jesus was very careful with his words. As a matter of fact, he was very efficient with his words.
Yes.
And so we ought to be the same way. Now, that isn't to say that we would never do that. But if we're going to put something out there where the public is going to see it, and we're going to call ourselves a Christian, then it ought to be deep enough so that it is not ever critiqued for being trivializing.
Right.
And if it's going to be somebody up close, somebody who we know has been struck by some kind of tragedy, or we're close proximity, and maybe it's in our own town or something like that, it could be much more personal.
Right.
And the language should be something much more farther away from a cliche, like this hurts me.
Right. Yeah.
Something that simple.
That's a good choice of words there. So in addition to offering those words, what are some tangible ways that Christians can help and to be a representative of Christ in situations like these?
Well, obviously in the places where things happen far away. I mean, if you're in California, something happens in Florida, the opportunities are limited.
Yeah.
Certainly we can do things like contact people down there and see if there's any opportunities for us. Giving money to charities or other things to charities that are well known, because there are a lot of phonies out there. I would be very careful about that. But that's very tangible. And money and gifts go a long way, as long as the people who are supposed to receive it actually receive it.
Right.
Closer in, if it's a family, for example, that's been struck, or a group of families, it would be just like Jesus to gather people together and to go to the families or the places where the help is needed and provide something tangible like meals, or can we take care of your children, or pick them up at school, or do things that are the hands and feet of Jesus.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thanks again, Mark. To learn more from Mark or to hear more from him, visit reasons.org and search Mark Perez. And, one of the things that we want to just encourage is through your prayer, see how God can step into that and show you how to be the light in a dark place.